just know that if you're doing something that's a Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Friday and week friggin' ends, you're not going to be fulfilled and life's going to go by and you're going to go, God, I feel trapped. Most likely you've run into somebody who's griping about their job. They're not inspired by what they're doing. They have a Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Fridays and week friggin' ends. And they're not necessarily engaged and they're doing whatever they can to just get through and get by instead of getting inspired by what they're doing. So if you're young and you're in school or maybe out in the world and you felt like you're not sure where you want to go or you're already trapped in something that's not inspiring, you have a number of ways of dealing with it. So if you have something to write with and write on, you probably are going to want to take a few notes. Let's start with the young individual that's coming out of school. And we'll work our way into people that are out there in the world already, working, less inspired. Your life goes by pretty quick. And when you're young, you don't think that. But when you get older, you realize how fast it goes. And it does seem to go faster, quicker as you go along. And you don't want to go through your life doing something that is uninspiring. I always say money without meaning can lead to debauchery. Because if you're unfulfilled in what you're doing and not engaged in what you're doing and not inspired by it, you tend to go into your amygdala, and the amygdala looks for immediate gratification. And that's where a lot of our challenges and illness come from. That's where our addictive behaviors, that's where our compulsive behaviors, that's where our overspending behaviors and over drinking and over many things behaviors emerge. So you have a number of choices, and it depends on what you value most. If you have a very high value on making money, that's one thing. If you have a high value on having a stable family, it's another. If you have a high value on doing something you love every day, everybody has a different set of values, and depending on their values, will have a different need to have fulfillment. Now, some people go out and get a job and they go looking for a job because they think, well, that's going to make the most money, I'm going to do that. But they may or may not be inspired to do it. They drudge through the schooling and they drudge through the thing and they get a job, and then they go, oh my God, I've been trapped in something that now I've been trained for, and I don't know if this is as far fulfilling as I imagined. But it's not the job, it's the perception of the job. So you have a number of two things you can do. You can either go and do what you really love and find a way of packaging that in a way that really means something to others, that serves others, to become fortunate doing what you love every day. I've been blessed to go that path. Or, and that's what I call doing what you love and delegating everything else and going and doing what's meaningful and inspiring. And so you can't wait to get up in the morning and tap dance to work, as Warren Buffett does, because he found what he loves doing at a young age. I found what I love. Not everybody does. But there's also people that say, no, I want to be a wealth and I want to go into a business that makes the most money, and that's what I want. So they may not care about what they're doing as long as they're making income, and that's fulfilling. In that case, you may go after something that produces the most income per unit of time. But my experience is money without meaning tend to lead to debauchery. So you'll end up with kind of a party life to compensate for the unfulfillment. And you'll spend it and squander it on things that are immediate gratifying material objects or whatever, to fill your house full of stuff to feel better and toys and stuff in order to compensate for that. Or you can take the job duty of that job that you think will produce and ask, how is doing the job responsibilities and job duties helping me fulfill what is meaningful to me? So you can become engaged. So either go and do what you love through delegating or love what you do through linking. This is an important component in order to maximize the fulfillment level in what you're doing. I've had people come to me in the Breakthrough Experience program that I've been doing for many, many years now, almost 4 decades. And people say, well, my friggin' job, I feel like it's killing me. And I go, well, with that perception, it probably is. So I make them a list of all the things that they're doing in their job description, and I help them identify what their values are, which is on my website, drdemartini.com, a complementary value determination process, which is worth it. Thousands of people are using that. And Go in there and find out what you really value, what your life demonstrates really important to you, and ask how specifically is doing that job duty helping you fulfill that, and answering that 30 times. And at first you think there's no way, I can't see it. But hold yourself accountable to make the link, because when you do, your job has different meaning now. And if you go and ask on the second job at duty and the second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and go down the list and link it to what you value most, which I've been blessed to do to help people appreciate their job, their engagement will go up, their productivity will go up, their fulfillment in their job will go up, the meaning in their job will go up. And now they're actually inspired to be at their job, and they're making great money. And not that that's the only thing, but most people are going to work to produce an income. And you want to make as much as you can. And by the way, when you're doing something that's meaningful, you'll tend to spend your money more wisely. You'll value yourself more. You'll tend to be more philanthropic. You'll tend to invest in yourself and invest and eventually work towards having money work for you as a master, you as a master of money instead of being a slave to it. But if you're unfulfilled in it, you'll probably squander it on immediate gratifying things to give you feeling of fulfillment because you're not fulfilled in your career. If you're unfulfilled in your career, you'll tend to overeat more, over drink more, over party more, or do whatever it is that's you might say, immediate gratifying to compensate. But let's say that you're now out in the work. You've already been through school. And I ask people, if you're, by the way, in school still, I ask, what is it I would absolutely love to do in life? How can I get handsomely, beautifully paid to do it? What are the highest priority actions I can do to make that real? What obstacles might I run into, and how do I solve in advance? What worked and what didn't work today? How do I do what I want to do more effectively and efficiently tomorrow? And how did, no matter what happened, help me get towards that? As long as you're doing something that's meaningful and that you can find a way of making great living out of it, then you're fulfilled. And I have yet to find people in the breakthrough experience, when people come there, they go, well, this is what I love to do. How am I going to make money out of it? I guarantee you there's a way of making a fortune out of almost anything you want to do in life. There's somebody out there that has a need for it. Now, normally when you're an entrepreneur, you want to go out and find somebody that already has a need, already has a void out there, and fill it. That's probably the easiest way to market, because then you got a demand. But sometimes you can create a demand. A pet rock didn't have a demand at one time, but somebody sold millions of dollars worth of pet rocks. So you can create a demand based on the way you articulate and package what you're doing in a way that meets people's needs. If you care about humanity, you'll find a way of meeting people's needs and be able to get paid handsomely to do something you really love to do. And I'm a believer that you can do something extraordinary doing what you love to do and get handsomely paid and build fortunes out of it. But not everybody has to have a big fortune, and some people want to just do very well. I'm not going to make it where you think, well, if I don't have money, I'm not going to be successful. I think that's crazy, because achievement and fulfillment comes by your values. And different people have different sets of values and needs. Some want to raise a family, but there's no reason why you can't go raise a family and marry somebody and have a great life, or raise a family and do it all on your own and do a job that's meaningful and produces and makes great living. The whole spectrum is available to you. But just know that if you're doing something that's a Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Friday and week friggin' ends, you're not going to be fulfilled, and life's going to go by and you're going to go, God, I feel trapped. And if you are one of those individuals that aren't young and aren't starting out and going after something, this is the time to pull out that second one where you go through and identify what you're doing in your life and how specifically is it helping you fulfill what you value most. Or if you know something you really want to be doing that you think will give you a greater return as far as fulfillment and income, ask, how is the temporary job I have right now helping me get there? So you can appreciate it as a transition to the next step. There's no mistake why you're doing what you're doing. You obviously wouldn't be doing it if you didn't feel that there's some value out of it, financial security or connections or insights or skills or something you're developing. Appreciate what you've got, you get more to be appreciative of. So ask yourself, how is the current job duties and responsibilities and actions helping me fulfill my life and my highest values, or the new career path that I want to take? And then your energy will be fused into that action, and you'll end up with probably more opportunities within that job to make that transition. I had a gentleman who was in Dallas, Texas a number of years ago, came to the breakthrough experience. He said, I make around $230,000 a year, which is pretty good income. And he said, Bud, I know I can do more. and I'm doing consulting and I'm working this company and they're paying me a percentage and they're getting the lion's share. And I feel like I could do this and I feel like I'm constricted to doing only certain types of consulting. And he said, I have a contract and I'm not allowed to do it outside that. And I said, so ask yourself, how is this job duty right now and these constrictions, how's it helping you go and do what you really want to do? And said, well, I really want to start my own consulting company. I said, great. And we went there and we sought out, all looked at everything he was doing in his job and looked at how much they were paying him to do it. And we asked, how can we figure out a way of doing that in less time, more effectively, to buy time, to give time to go out and do something else, and then to go back to the company and said, if I can get the same job done in less time and less thing and the same or even less cost, um, and make you one of my clients and get the same job done, I'd like to start my own consulting firm. Well, they went, no, we don't want you to do that. And then he said, well, I'm going to go. When he eventually had the ability to go, he said, I feel confident enough to go on my own. I know I can make this thing happen. They eventually said, no, we don't want to lose your skills because it is valuable. We'll pay you your consulting fee and you'll pay a little less. You'll come in and you'll give us so many hours. And he says, and then you'll be free to do it. But he put some restrictions on what type of clients. You can't steal clients from the company and this and that. So he transitioned from what he was doing in the company to his own consulting. That became his first client, and he had two other clients that joined up pretty quick. And he ended up with about a dozen clients within 2-3 years, making almost 4 times the amount of money. It's almost $1 million a year. And what was interesting is now the same income was coming from this one, but now he was able to delegate because he found himself doing a bunch of work that he could have delegated, but they were making him do all the work that he didn't want to do. And he delegated it, was more efficient, do it at less price, save the company money. He ended up being free to go do something else that was more pertinent and surrounding himself with people that could do things he could delegate. And he liberated himself and made more income. If you're not doing what you really love and inspired by, and you're not delegating the lower things and doing what's really highest in priority that you spontaneously can't wait to go and do, you're probably trapping yourself. But if you can take that, whatever that is, and link whatever jobs you're doing to that, you can become engaged. I can take anybody's job and I can turn it into something that'll bring them an orgasm and bring them an inspiration. It's just ratios of perception that determines it. If you've associated pain with a job, you're going to want to withdraw from it. If you associated benefits to it, you're going to want to engage in it. So I can take any job duty and I can ask questions and ask you to see the links between that and what's meaningful to you and inspire that. So if you're in a young position and you're in school, I would make sure that I'm targeting something that's deeply meaningful, or if you have a high value in wealth building, targeting something that makes the most income. But my observation is those people that go after just income and they have money without meaning, without inspiration, those are the people that end up doing the cocaine and the fast car lane, and they buy stuff and they're in the fast lane always trying to live the fancy life to compensate for the unfulfillment. As I said, money without meaning leads to debauchery, but money with meaning leads to philanthropy. That's the Wolf on Wall Street approach. But that's not, to me, the most fulfilling. My observation when I meet people, they're in that trap. They're caught in that fast lane, but they don't have meaning for what they're doing. I would rather see that a way of going after something that's truly meaningful. Look at what your life has demonstrated, keeps being inspiring to you. Figure out a way of how it meets people's needs. Do a brainstorming session on how whatever you're doing that you love doing, how it could be used, how it could be packaged. Find out what uniquenesses you have, what features you offer, what advantages you offer. You as an individual with your talents, what is it and how, and all the different people that could benefit from that, and look at how do you package that and market that. I'm a researcher and teacher, and I figured out how to package that and where I would provide some sort of value to people. And I've been blessed in my life with economics because I somehow meet people's needs. And as long as I do, my dad told me that when I was young, if I go and help other people get what they want to get in life, I get what I want to get in life. Zig Ziglar said the same thing. He said, if you go and give people more than they expect, you won't worry about an economic return. So ask yourself, how can I serve the greatest number of people doing what skills that I have? And give yourself permission to target the thing that you really love to do and do it in a way that really is meaningful, that packaged in a way that's serving great numbers of people. Ask yourself, how can I serve ever greater numbers of people with the package knowledge and skills and talents that I have? And you may find out that not all of it is as much as packageable as others, but then you can take the ones that you're inspired by and do it. And the ones that are less inspiring, link it. Go do what you love through delegating, or go love what you do through linking. If you do that, you'll be engaged and inspired, and you have a career that's productive and doing something you love to do. But you'll make sure that your values are going to be met, because if you're unfulfilled in your values, you're going to be frustrated. And to me, I've seen people trapped in a job thinking and by the way, be careful of going and comparing yourself to other people's lives. That really screws things up. You compare yourself, they think they have a better life over there and go, oh man, look at my life, it sucks. No, they don't have a better life, they have a different life. They have a different set of pains and pleasures, a different set of challenges and supports, and a different set of, things that they like and dislike. So don't compare yourself to other people so much. Compare your daily actions to what you value most, so you're doing something meaningful, and keep asking, how can I serve ever greater numbers of people doing what I really love to do? And get creative on the marketing and advertising and selling of that. Because I assure you, there's almost anything you can imagine can do it. I had a lovely lady one time that said she loved spending time with her dog. We turned that into $100 million business. $100 million playing with her dog, spending time with her dog. She packaged it in a way that most people never imagined. And that became one of the most famous dogs in America. So it doesn't matter what you start with, it's just a matter of how you package it and how you perceive it. You have control of your perception, decisions, and actions in life. And if you take command of your perceptions and you articulate things on how to present things in a way where people get a value out of it, you could do almost anything and do something that fills for people's lives and needs. So give yourself permission to go after what you really love to do. But if you want to go and make a bunch of money, then great. I know people that drudge through things they don't love doing just to get some income. Again, watch out for the impact of that. Find something that's meaningful. Go and do something that makes income, but go and ask, how are these job duties helping you fulfill what's meaningful? And link it. So at least if you're doing that, you have fulfillment and meaning, or otherwise you're going to go and fulfill your life with stuff and clutter. People buy a house and 1/4 of their house is storage, to buy things that depreciate in value, and then they burden themselves and wonder why they're overwhelmed financially. So give yourself permission to fulfill your life instead of having to fill it full with other stuff. And then go and do something meaningful that inspires people. One of the most fulfilling things in life is doing something that serves great numbers of people, where you get thank yous on a daily basis for the service you provide. So I'm a firm believer in doing that. If you're going to go after a career, do something that's meaningful. That's what distinguishes us from the animals. They can do things that are impulsive and instinctual, but we can do something that's meaningful. And doing something. As Hubert Hal Bancroft in his book on wealth, the Book of Wealth says people that are very wealthy have three things in common. They feel by divine providence they're here to serve vast numbers of people, and they do a product, service, or idea that does that. They have transcended the labels that money is good or evil, because it's not. It's just a means of exchange. And they also try to raise the standards of people's lives and invest in inspiration, not rescue desperation. And if you do that, wow, there's a lot of fulfillment in life, and you can get prosperous in the process. So give yourself permission to go do what you love and love what you do, and give yourself permission to delegate lower priority things so you can go on with higher priority things that are really meaningful to produce more, and link whatever job duties you temporarily are doing until you go on to what you really love doing. Ask, how specific is it helping me get to the next step? If you do, you'll see life on the way, not in the way, and you'll be more fulfilled, and your career will be more empowered. So just threw those ideas out in case that's helpful. That's why in the Breakthrough Experience program that I teach pretty well every week or every other week, that's what I give them, the tips on how to do both of those things, and show them how to make links, and show them how to find out what your values are, and show people that attend how to empower their life so they can do what they love and love what they do on a daily basis. I've been blessed to do that, and I sometimes wonder, why are people not knowing this? They just run their story instead and get trapped. If you don't want to be trapped in that, if you don't want to have a career that's unfulfilling, there's a way through this. And I've just given you some of the tips, but in the Breakthrough Experience, I show you how to do it. So there's one thing talking about it, it's another thing actually going and doing the process. So just wanted to share a few moments on that. And so thank you for listening in today. Join me at the Breakthrough Experience. I've been teaching the Breakthrough Experience for 34, going on more than that years now. And I've watched lives transform. I've seen trajectories change. I've seen people do something they love. I've seen careers catapulted. I've seen trajectories of their economics. I've seen fulfillment in any of the 7 areas of life. And I know that the principles, I've been studying these principles for 50 years. And why reinvent the wheel? Why not take advantage of that? I look forward to sharing things because I love watching lives transform and seeing light bulbs go on and seeing new trajectories. That's what's fulfilling. And you want to be able to go after a career that does that. I feel that way in my life. You deserve to have that in your life. So come and join me at the Breakthrough Experience so I can show you how to do that. And that way you don't have to have Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days. Thank God it's Fridays and week friggin' ends. This is Dr. Demartini. Until next week, join me at the Breakthrough Experience and stay tuned for next week. Every week we got something, another little thing to stimulate your ideas for the week.